Okay, I'm Monica De Zulueta. I'm with Microsoft, and we am a technology strategist on the Navy account team. So I'm the technical resource for the Navy sellers.
Okay, so that's great. Microsoft does everything. What kind of technology you guys showcasing today?
So Microsoft has made great investments in the cloud, and what we're doing today specifically is about data and AI. So think about AI has been around like 50 years or more like even 60 years. The thing is that there's a couple of requirements for AI that really hasn't until now, and it's computing power and data. So think about all the devices, and so the explosion of data, and at the same time the computing power with the cloud. So bringing that together, really, it's the heyday. Now I would say it's almost like the beginning of the heyday for AI. And so Microsoft made some really great investments, but they've made investments for for all, in the sense that if you're a data scientist and you want to, you have these great algorithms and you want to build things, or you already built algorithms, fine, you can use the cloud and harness that computing power. If you are another data scientist and you want to use some of the frameworks like TensorFlow, Onyx, we support that. And if you're like saying, I don't want anything with data science, I just want to be able to use the tools, we have these pre-packaged cognitive services, and that's some of the stuff we're showcasing. So you could do image processing, video processing. So you give it a picture, and then if it's somebody famous, it'll recognize who it is. Or if there's a sign, it'll be able to, hey, read environmental, and it'll be able to say this is a sign, a carrier, you have aircraft, you have people, and it can actually read. So you can see that, being very useful. Think about for inspections.
Yeah.
Think about for security, not only physical.
Yeah.
We also invested a lot of times in some of the cyber tools we have AI. So for instance, in our cyber tools we have AI analyzing human behavior. For instance, we get people using it. For example, you have Xbox, you have tools like Outlook, you have tools Bing. So you have a lot of tools out there, and they're being used. So all that information that it's being collected and how it's being used, we apply machine learning, and to make the products better. So you can leverage our AI tools without even knowing you're leveraging it.
Yeah, it's such a great asset. As we were talking about before, we've been a long time Microsoft partner.
Yes.
We do a lot of AI, VR, ML, all the other acronyms for not only our day-to-day customers, but we're starting to do it now for government partners as well. And it's one of those resources that we always look at, because we're like, you could go write a library, you could go write an algorithm, but chances are it's already done. You can go borrow it, and Microsoft's great about sharing a lot of that stuff. So you don't have to be a big company. You can tag on to what Microsoft already has.
Yes.
You can scale as well with the cloud, right?
Yes.
So this isn't just for big businesses.
No, absolutely. No, it's really, the entry is we have, for example, there's a company that they're a drone company, and they're doing inspections for lines, transmission lines.
Yep.
They're a small startup. Literally, Microsoft Ventures got involved in it, but they wanted to use our AI technology. They had the drones, but they wanted to leverage our AI technology for inspections of the transmission lines.
And it's great because
it's a startup.
It'll scale with them as they go.
Yeah.
They get contracts from military or something, they can grow with it.
Yeah. So we had another company that they were doing image collection analysis for the underwater. The oil rigs, up the bottom of the inspections of the oil rigs, and this company small startup ended up like exploding, because imagine all the images and videos, and they're a huge consumer of Azure, and they're on the Gulf Coast of the United States, and they do inspections for the drills in the Gulf, and a startup, and has grown and is one of the largest consumers of Azure, ironically.
That's cool.
So yeah, you don't have to be, one of the big, monolithic companies to be able to leverage the cloud. In fact, you'll see a lot of times the small groups are able to be more nimble and more agile. Yeah. And what does the cloud do? It's all about agility, and so they're able to leverage it. Sometimes the bigger ones are a little bit, slower to adopt.
Yeah, and you don't realize how quickly this projects can grow.
Yeah.
And data right now is king, right? So the more you have, the better you have, and you want to store not just your clients, all the tests, everything, because if you're doing machine learning, right, you're training algorithms, right, so it just adds up. So I know for us, we break down our hosting, our cloud services by almost by project now. So within our company, we'll have it, because then if that one takes off and scales for that customer, then we can kind of gauge it and do it. Can you explain a little bit about like MilSpec, like a MilSpec cloud at all?
Okay, so this has identified something called impact levels. So like impact level 2 is a public cloud. Impact level 4 is it's NIPR, it's non-classified 4 and 5, and then there's also IL6, which is the secret cloud. Later on in the future, you'll have IL7s, which is JWICs.
Okay.
So there are, and like I said, this is the one that basically it has its impact levels, and then you submit, your cloud specs, and you get an authority to operate. You get a provisional authority, a PA, from DISA. And that applies, of course, DISA is the DoD Information Security Agency, and they basically will, give guidance across DoD.
And this is something for small businesses they do not want to try and do on their own, and they should come to you guys and have it all figured out.
Right.
It's much easier, just sign up, pay your fee, and it's done, right?
Yes.
This is not something you want to keep on.
And then for ironically for DoD and IL4, you need to have the cleared personnel, even though it's a NIPR, it's a non-class. You definitely have U.S. citizens, and you have to have cleared personnel. So yes, there's not only the cost of the computing power, but there's the infrastructure cost of the people, and make sure they're cleared personnel, make sure they're U.S. citizens, and so there's a lot of, and then also submitting for the audits and everything. So there's a lot of additional.
Just understanding everything that needs to go into it. It's worth not trying to go it alone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like for example, you need to have folks that not only are cleared, but you need to be able to. You have all the governance and everything that addresses the DoD needs.
Yeah, that's great. This is why I love Microsoft so much. We use so much Microsoft products. So if you can, if I was a small business or someone, entrepreneur just starting out, what would you recommend? How do I get started? Where do I go? What would you suggest?
Okay, so there's a few things. There's from like just learning about Azure, which is the what we call our cloud offering. There is something called Channel 9 that gives you like little vignettes, little videos. So it's like a lot of times, sometimes classes can be very cumbersome, but the way I learn is I need to go do things. So there are hands-on labs, there's little videos like saying, okay, there's like a 10-minute video, you watch it, and then you can leverage and start building things. So you can get credits for free to use it. So small business have something called BizSpark, and I think they've changed it now, it's like part of Microsoft Ventures, but you're able to sign up and get cloud credits.
Okay.
And then also you can do through MSDN or Microsoft Development Network, you're able to get Azure credits, and a lot of times for free you can sign up for a month, but then you can also, and some services are free for more than just a month. It could be a whole year or longer, but there's a lot of learning opportunities online. If you learn that way. There's of course like instructor-led training, but I'm also like, I need a little video, but I really like to build it myself. So the proof is in the pudding. So I go build things, and there's a lot of tools, from data visualization tools that are free. That one's actually free all the time. Power BI to some of the Azure offerings, or like you can also get like free installation. So even though you may have just only monthly credits, but you could also leverage some of the tools, like for example the IoT. You can get like 8,000 messages a day, which is fine, for testing things out.
Yeah.
If you have 1 million devices, that doesn't satisfy the 8,000, but it's maybe only pennies a day anyway.
Yeah.
So
that's great. So love what you guys do. Appreciate you coming out and talking to it and breaking it down for us. And thank you very much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.